Hi, Kathy.
She may have you muted.
I know, she might. But nothing's
Hey.
happening. There you are. Hi there.
Sorry, I'm missing you guys. I walked to class in the rain today and walked back to my car in the rain. Then I was in and out of the rain. I was like, I've been in and out all day. So
You're right where I'd like to be.
I stayed in the house all day.
who all am I missing? Where's the camera on the
Oh,
thing?
I don't have the video on. Look at me getting all my steps tonight.
Well, you're the one laying there in your comfy chair. We didn't want you to be jealous when you saw us, see it being all sprawled out.
There, is that better?
Oh, hi, everybody. Look at how big
Now,
my
see if,
the Kennets are there. And let's see.
What does it sort of follow?
see if it'll follow you. No, if you talk.
No, I can't.
I don't see it up there.
Got Ken over here sitting on my left.
And then who's over there? I don't.
Yeah. We used to take attendance and make people sign in and stuff, but
We'll do a roll call for you. We'll have everybody do their intro, and then that way you can do the attendance out of that.
All right. We also, my family, I mean, I know everybody's got their thing, but we have to leave at like if we leave at 6:40, then we're cutting it really close in the morning. So all three of us have to be up, dressed, fed, ready to start our days.
3 girls.
yeah.
That's early. So like both girls are, and I know they're capable to do a lot of things, but it does happen better if I'm here to crack the whip on things. So they're both doing showers and got to make sure their homework's done and all that. Start of the second quarter, we got to start out strong.
I don't
So
do that anymore. Mine's in college.
Yeah.
who just said that?
Me, and
Me, she can't see you.
yeah, I'm way out here.
She can see you. They had an owl in here that was supposed to follow you, whoever was speaking. So I don't know. I don't know how we're good. I don't know who's supposed to be on the discussion panel. Most of the board isn't coming. So
Tonight, you know what? Everybody I talked to also today was like, man, I didn't want to come to work today. I didn't want to do that.
Wow.
Like just the rain like moped everybody out.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's Ken saying. So who's to your right? Yeah, who's that?
Me, Ed, and Denise is in the dark. Her sister Karen.
Ed, Denise, and Karen.
Okay, hi.
Coming in, so
Yeah, I just saw. I see the shadow.
Tom P said he'd be here at 3, right on time.
All right, he can take over for the Kathy show now.
You won't be able to see him either though.
I know. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be motivated. I was like, man, I could go and like,
Yeah, her sister
it'd
was
be nice to see Tom.
So they usually go. Yeah. Her sister lives out there, so they take their camper out usually for like a month or more this time of year. And then Shibberdeckers are gonna join on Zoom.
There's Tom.
Kratz is joining on Zoom.
Yeah, there's Kratz. Hi, Kratz on Zoom.
And then, who else was on the board? Wasn't coming?
Hey, Kathy. Had to unmute my speaker.
Yeah, I did too. I helped. I wasn't the only one. But I did help PK on Saturday at the Autumn Festival at Sugar Grove.
Good. Yeah, she was really needing help for that. And it
They
sounds
were-
like she had quite a few people that came to help, so that's good. It is. I've gone to that before and it is a huge event.
I would have liked to go on, but
Yeah.
I was involved with the activity at the chili cook-off.
At the chili cook-off.
Yeah,
That sounds like a good event to be at.
Yeah.
yeah,
They sold the club honey, all but one bear sold, and all of the honey sticks were gone.
Good.
So there was a lot of honey sold.
what's the club sell the honey sticks for?
You know, they were all sold out by the time I got there. You'd have to ask Cynthia. She was there right before me.
Yeah.
We were selling for 25 cents.
That it's either 25 or 50. I don't know, since I didn't participate in the sale of those.
I was gonna guess $1.
They could have made it $1 and it'd have been
Probably.
still sold out.
Did you elections and all that on the kickoff?
Do what?
Did you kick off everything?
No, you just walked in right at 7, so. I was hoping we'd get a few more onliners or, cause yeah, I've never had to run a meeting before and
You did a quorum, or
Huh?
election?
we don't actually do the election because it is nominations for the board and then the board elects officers. So it's basically anybody that we want to nominate to be on the board. And
Yeah,
they-
so nominations are tonight and elections will be next meeting.
Right. See, you're here, you can run the meeting from there.
There you go, Tom.
I needed to make sure you were there because I wasn't gonna be there, so I couldn't get the board going and I, couldn't
Yeah.
open the doors. No, I don't have keys, but I couldn't do that anyway.
Right, well, you guys will have to figure out something different after January. Cause I won't have a key after that,
Oh, why not?
I'm retiring,
Good for you.
yeah,
That's pretty neat.
I know,
And heading for Florida, hopefully.
well.
There you go.
For
Yeah.
Well, there was
My
just
bees needed more- My bees needed more attention than I could give them while working full time.
there was just the news thing tonight that Hurricane Ian wiped out like 400,000 hives.
Ooh,
A
I bet,
billion
down there in
bees.
Orange Country,
That
We better be-
beekeepers ship their bees down there in the winter. And then they ship them to orange and almond and some other,
then
Place.
blueberries usually.
yeah, and then there could be a big dip in the amount of food available next year. And they're bringing down pallets of pollen patties and hundreds of gallons of syrup. And I don't know if they were gonna try to just wild feed them or open feed them or what, but somebody said that one of their hives ended up 2 miles away in somebody's living room.
Oh, gosh, was it still alive? Or just that?
Yeah, she evidently called the number on the box and wanted the guy to come get the bees out of her house.
Wow, yeah, a lot of the people I know down in those areas, whenever there's a storm, they all are talking about how to secure the hive as best they can and not only just strap it together, but strap it to cinder blocks and,
Oh, yeah, hurricane clips.
yeah, and strap it down to whatever they can, so. It may have been all strapped together and just blew around and. Well. So do we take the nominations for the board? Is that the first thing?
Yep.
Sure, we can do that.
Tom P says, yep.
I nominate Cindy.
Cindy says no, she's gonna retire and she needs to get off the board. She's been on it forever. But who else we got? There's a ton of people that aren't here and there's a lot of the newer ones. We can probably take nominations at any time, can't we?
Yeah, we can. I think
Let's
PK
talk
sent
about-
something out, if anybody had nominations to let me know.
I guess let's talk a little bit about what that means. When you say that you're on the board, so what we're looking for, and this probably should be in an email if it hasn't already been put in. But what the board does is, we come up with things like the meeting schedules. We come up with, who's gonna present what, how do we get volunteers for things? How we're gonna do our beekeeping 101 class. Participation in events like we just had at Sugar Grove Nature Center. When we get asks from schools or other places like that to present, all those types of things. So just kind of coordination is really what it is. And even though there's titles on the board, it doesn't really mean. There's, sometimes, usually the president role is like wrangler, but maybe not. So the big thing is just, it's input for what we do and how we do it. And it's always good to have new people to get more insight on things, and it's not just the same stuff that we do over and over. Because like every one of the topics we're gonna cover at the end of the meeting tonight is what kind of stuff would you like to cover in the meetings? And honestly, I'm bored with it. So, but if other people want it, if they want those topics, then we'll present on those topics. So but if there's other things that you guys want to hear about, then let's hear about that, and let's try and find some presenters for that, for those topics and things like that. And that's kind of what the board does. Hopefully that helps. So I'm looking at you guys, because you guys have been in almost every single meeting.
Yeah.
What do you do? Should I-
I'm not gonna commit until after the election.
She's not elected yet.
So they haven't you.
They haven't had the election yet, but I've already been elected.
All right, there you go.
No one's running against them.
I'm running a county board.
Oh, okay.
See, you got
Champaign
experience.
County.
Yeah, for which county?
Champaign County.
Oh, okay.
Good for you.
I'm running unopposed. My son voted early, so. Yeah.
There you go.
I got on the ballot because no Republican would run. It's like, I'm tired in Urbana, all that runs are Democrats. It's like, come on, I'll put my name on the ballot and I'll have someone to vote for.
Is that the county board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody likes to explain, but nobody wants to.
Right.
Yeah, but it sounds like I was president of the Prairie Gem and Mineral Society for actually about 3 years.
So what?
And Prairie Gem and Mineral Society,
Oh, very-
it's been defunct for at least 20 years now, but they said, everyone else in the club has been president, it's your turn.
And that's kind of what happens, so it's like, I mean, I've been on a bazillion different clubs and stuff like that, and that's what happens, is it rotates, right? You have core members and stuff like that, and you have people that come in, so like with beekeeping, we see a lot of people come in the spring, and then we see them taper off in the fall. That kind of thing, or if they lose their bees, they get overwhelmed with all the work, or they're like, wow, this actually, I sweated too much this year working bees, and I thought this was gonna be easy. Those kinds of things, and like, they just don't fall in love with it, they thought they were gonna fall.
Yeah,
So.
I wouldn't mind, but I retired a year ago. And I thought I'd have all this free time and oh my God, I am so busy.
No,
It's unreal. I don't have a spare moment.
that's why I said next year is my great big year of no. I'm just gonna take a list of all the people that want me to do stuff and be like, yeah.
It's our farm. We
Yeah.
finally, this week, we're finishing up canning season, thank God. Last year, we went into November,
Yeah.
so.
Candy.
Yeah, we can't
even
get our hands Yeah, we grow all our own food pretty much, as much as we can anyway.
They're borderline doomsday preppers.
I like it. I like
It's
it.
good though,
Long.
and you gotta have bees down there, something sweet.
Yeah, and we got it this year, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got what, like 15 gallons or so?
I got 5 or 6. I've already bucketed or did one bottled up 2 buckets, and I think I still have 5.
Good job.
Yeah, we still have a bottle on
I mean,
my.
that's-
3.
The
The 3 hives I got from you this spring. Look at that.
There you go.
That's all everybody.
But yes, I was joking before, I will stay on the board. But I can't be the key master if I don't have keys, so.
Don't turn your key in.
Yeah, we're not
Oh,
doing that.
Yeah, or quick, make a copy.
We're looking for a secretary, I think, is one role
Yeah,
we're looking for.
Royden,
So that's
is that
something,
Royden?
Royden travels quite a ways and he's got a lot of other commitments and stuff like that. And he's retired and wants to be retired.
Yeah.
That's,
And he's pushing 70 too.
Mm-hmm,
and I think, and he's been secretary for like 4 or 5 years,
yeah.
maybe longer. than that.
Well, it kind of just, whatever was there before COVID has stayed there through COVID.
Yeah.
We're now on the other side of COVID, so hopefully. So are there any other nominations from online or here in the present? And you can
I sent
nominate,
her,
who's not here.
I nominate Ellen Horton.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah.
hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we can-
sure.
Hi, this is
Yeah,
Valerie.
Valerie, go ahead, Valerie.
Hi, I sent a note to PK I saw her note yesterday evening and I sent a note to her just to get a sense of what sort of board responsibilities there would be, and thanks Tom for going through that. But I'd be interested, but I'm scared at the same time, not really having served on a board for anything, but it still sounds very interesting and it'll definitely help keep me involved with bees. So
Mhm.
We can reach out to you, but we'll talk about it here a little bit. I mean, it kind of depends on the role that you're looking for, and we have a lot of different needs. Like I said, one that we're really looking for is a secretary, and that's, as you can imagine. So the nice part about it is I know you come from Peoria, the Peoria area, so like a lot of times Cindy dials in on Zoom when we have our board meetings and stuff like that.
Because board meetings are usually in the middle of the week, like a Wednesday night, somewhere here in town. They've been at Wild Country, or where'd you guys meet the last time, Sugardeckers?
Yep, advanced computing.
Yeah.
I'd love to have them on Zoom sometimes too, because it's just trying to get over there and get back and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So sometimes we can do some things better. Like tonight's meeting, I wish we would have done on Zoom. Because I can show a lot of pictures. I'm sitting here in front of a laptop instead of having a PowerPoint. I hate doing PowerPoints. So the sometimes it has their place. But
Yeah.
I do PowerPoints all day long. So I don't want to do that.
Well, then you should
But-
get extra good at
But
it.
we can do it on the fly with, questions, but the pictures are worth more than the words a lot of times on this stuff. So, anyways, back to the secretary position. We'd love to have you, Valerie.
thank you.
I nominate Valerie, and then that way she'll learn as she progresses.
There you go. And it really, it's taking notes and kind of logging what happens either during meetings or we don't really keep tight records during the meeting other than like the official business. And then during the board meetings, just kind of keeping track of who does what, when, where, helping with the getting the events on Facebook. Sometimes we even do that collaboratively as a group.
That's the vice president's job.
Yeah.
I was
There.
told.
We have
after I was-
bylaws that,
After I was vice president. But yeah, there's some like, yeah, so basically you can join the board and not have an official office, and be advisory,
right.
but like Tom said, we are looking for a secretary, so, and that has gotten a lot looser with COVID because we have people online. Sometimes there's so many, you can't keep track of who's all online. It would be, we used to, take attendance at the meetings and have you wear your name tag that had your little sticker that said you were a member for that year. But that stuff's it's gotten a lot harder to implement when you don't know for sure how the meeting's gonna go, or if it's gonna be all online or whatever, so.
Who the person is that has the box with the name tag.
Yeah, and that's worrying, I'm like, it's been hard for him to get here. So, but I think note taking at the board meetings is more critical than note taking at the meeting. Because the meeting's more informational and less planning. So basically, people with good ideas that have, stuff that they'd like to see happen, programs, events, like Tom said, yeah,
Just helping out where we need a hand.
yeah.
And then you don't necessarily have to be on the board to do that, but we need to have a couple of positions filled based on our bylaws, to qualify for our 501(c)(3).
Yeah.
That's really the big reason.
So who else we got that's not here that we can nominate? I mean, we've already got you guys down, right? Yeah, well, yeah, PK's a given.
Well, thank you for nominating me, and it's definitely something I would like to consider, whether or not I take the secretary position or maybe I take a year as an advisory position. I'm not certain, but I think being part of a board and listing in and then also helping to organize some of those events or at least have commentary to our meetings, I think I'd be very enthusiastic about that. So thank
Great.
you.
Great,
I
yeah,
think, and that's something we can reach out to you too and see like what skills you have that might fit in some good spots. So like something we've always been looking for is we've been looking for somebody to help out with our website, like getting some of that and keeping that fresh and updated. Some of those things, if you don't know how to do it, I can show you some of that stuff. There's a lot of tasks. Helping with publicity is a big one that we always need help with, especially right now as we're doing our beekeeping 101 class. Anybody can help with that too, but we need people to just say, hey, I'm here to help.
Cool. Okay. Then I have reached out to PK, and Tom, I will reach out to you as well.
Perfect. I'd love to talk
Thanks.
about it. Just text me.
Okay.
Any,
So anybody there monitoring the chat? Because I said, Kelly.
you said Kelly, this Kelly?
Yeah.
What are you gonna nominate him for?
He just said no.
Being on the board?
Yeah.
Cindy's already on the board, so I think it's supposed to be one member per household.
Nice
team.
try.
We don't stack
He's
today.
a super decker, but
Yeah,
I wanted to see a whole,
Shiverdeckers is just James is on the board. Cynthia is like
So she's-
adjunct that she's
Oh.
librarian. Yeah,
Anyways, I think we beat that one.
okay.
I was just teasing you, Kelly.
Oh, I know, you did fine.
Yes, it's usually my driver for these things, so. Yeah, you know, it's far drive. So what's next on the agenda? Tom's reading it.
I see the board. That's it. So we're ready for the presentation. I think there was, well, since PK's not online, she's in the car driving to California right
Yeah.
now, so she wasn't able to pop on the call. Kathy, did you already talk about the Sugar Grove?
Briefly, she talked about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
And he came in at the tail end.
Yeah, so I thought there was a lot of people. I showed up at like 1:30 and Cynthia was there until I was able to kind of fill her spot. PK was there all day. So PK is faithful to make these events, like our presence at these events, possible, because she is kind of the keeper of the demonstration hive and the extra, bees that are in the little acrylic things as like demonstrations and things to talk about. And
She fits in the suit.
yeah, she's great at promoting it with her bee suit and her personality that does, it's easy to approach. Like people don't feel intimidated by asking questions or anything like that. So
she's a very good diplomat for the group, that's for sure.
She does. And the way that she manages the signs and the gear and the posters and the this and that, and she does that very well. And without her, our presence at those events, I really don't think would happen. And if it did, it wouldn't be as smooth. So I think that she's not here to hear me compliment her, but I'll tell her another.
Right.
That's a big income source too, like selling honey at those events. I mean, we sold a bunch of honey. She sold a bunch of honey. I shouldn't say we.
Yeah.
She sold a bunch of honey during that time. So that pays for our expenses. For example, what are some of our expenses, you may ask? So like our website, our gosh, I'm trying to think, what else do we have? We have.
Well, we've got expenses for those hives that we maintain on at Sugar Grove.
Mhm.
So we got, hardware and occasionally bees
Mhm.
and treatment.
And then there's some stuff with the Illinois State Beekeepers Association. I know some of that comes from the dues, but anytime we get extra insurance or anything like that for an event, is that covered that way?
We give scholarships for our beekeeping 101 class.
Mhm.
We give money out to the fair
Mhm.
to kick in.
Yeah, we sponsor awards at I believe both McLean County and Livingston.
Yeah, so being at those events is a big deal,
Mhm.
because that gets our publicity out. So that's, we're always looking for any opportunities where we can talk about bees for
And-
various reasons.
And also at that, all those things, but then we did have the flyers for the beekeeping 101 class and just pamphlets for the club. And there was a lot of curiosity about those. So hopefully, and when somebody, like anything, you're you're in sales, somebody says, oh, well, maybe in a year I'll be ready to have bees. Well, then join the club now. It's $20 for the year. It's not gonna, break you. So then you can come to meetings and then you can do this, join the Facebook group. And then here's the flyer. You can still attend the class, even if you're not going to be, if you don't think you're going to do bees quite yet. It's still, great to be in a learning curve of it. I said, it's like drinking from the fire hose. You just absorb all you can and all that. So there was a lot of stuff like that, aside from, honey tasting with pretzels and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun to help out at stuff like that.
I think it's always really neat. I've taken my observation hive there a bunch when we do, especially the fall festival. Fall festival is so much fun. I think that's
It
probably
is.
one of the funnest ones at Sugar Grove, because they have all these little stations and stuff like that. And you go stuff a scarecrow and go do all these things like decorate pumpkins with all kinds of stuff that falls off the trees and make eyebrows out of honey locust pods and stuff like that. All that stuff's pretty neat. So everybody's usually happy. We couldn't have had a better weekend for weather for it. So I'm sure it was jammed with people. The color
Yeah.
people, I mean, it was just a great time to be out there. I wish I could have made it actually. And I didn't know she was that short-handed. I don't know if I probably would have gone. But those events are big for us, and that relationship with Sugar Grove is big. We wouldn't be here as a club if it weren't for Sugar Grove, because that's how we got the funding to start the club from ISU originally. And that's what built the sap and honey house out there and all that stuff, and bought some equipment and got things started. So those events are a really big deal.
And really, we have come a long, long way
Remind.
from that when we were at ISU.
Yep.
And just, the technology's improved so much. We've been able to do things where, people can be here without being here. Do classes online. We did a beekeeping 101 totally online during COVID.
I mean, we started doing Zoom before it was cool.
Yeah,
Granted, it was only like one meeting before everybody had to go Zoom.
yeah.
Our goal there was to turn on the Zoom for like weather sucks, or to try and get more people engaged up. We have one of the largest beekeeping pages in the state of Illinois for our club, which is pretty cool. So we're always trying to get some of those people to engage and not just be trollers and stuff like that, making fun of people about their bees and stuff like that. So it's just the end of works.
Yeah, but to be able to notify people via Facebook when there's a meeting and email them, I think our communication and our technology has grown exponentially, and that helps educate people and bring new people in. So tonight's meeting, maybe not the best example, but it is end of the year. But we're going to talk about some of that end of the year stuff.
Yep.
And beginning of the year stuff. Since there's so few of us, we can get all our questions answered.
Yeah, maybe get out here too. So who knows?
Yeah, make it out early.
One of the big things that we try to do each meeting is to have at least a half hour at the end to answer questions and say random things. Here's what's going on about my bees, or here's questions that I had during the year, or just to be able to get more questions answered about your bees. So that'll give us more opportunities too as well. So today is, remember we We'll
Yeah.
just go into that. So
I think so, right, Tom?
the topic that was thrown
Yep.
out tonight, and I wasn't,
I was asking Tom, since he's technically, he's tech pres tonight. He's technically president, he's on the technology, so. Didn't want to overrun him if there was something else we needed business wise.
No, business wise, I think we're good to go. It was the nominations, and I think we covered a lot of that and talked a lot about what the board does, and I think that's great. And I think if Tom, if you wanna, moderate a panel on what we need to do with all of our equipment right now,
yeah, so.
good to go.
I think somebody had mentioned a topic in one of the meetings about what do I do to take care of my gear? And whether that's putting it away for the winter, or whether it's bringing out in the spring, or assembling stuff, or doing some of those things. So we figured, well, we could do this as a question and answer and just kind of go around the room, people could add some insight to it. And kind of go through some of that stuff. So I know there's always a big question of what do I do with my honey supers when I pull them off my hives? And that's probably something everybody's been kind of dealing with. And I get, is that a question that you had?
Yes, damn wax moss.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can do. Ken, what do you guys do with your boxes when you pull them off the hives? After you extract?
Okay, so after I extract them, then I sort of get them out like into a stack of supers with like 1x spacers between each super. First let the bees sort of clean it out. I put just a cover over the top. And, they go in there and they work on cleaning that up real fast. And then what I do is because at that point in time, I've sort of increased the likelihood that wax moss might have decided to visit and do some work there. So then I start rotating those in through an extra freezer we've got. And, freeze them for 48 hours. And then I put them in a plastic coat. Either a plastic coat, or I'll take the super and I will tape like clear plastic over the top of it, because the rumor is that 48 hours freezing whatever's there will kill whatever larva was starting to hatch from the wax moth, that kind of thing. And then,
I never had that much room in a freezer, and I have 3.
So do you take every, you only have to put them in for that amount of time and then take them out?
Do you take every frame out, or do you leave them in the super and set the whole super in?
no, I take every frame out.
Okay, so you
There's
let
no
the
wrong
frames out.
Right, yeah, they're really.
Some people
I
have,
got one of those little chest freezers that are like the half chest. It's not the full chest freezer, but
I told Denise I was gonna try to buy one of the little 7 cubic foot ones. I was just gonna leave it out in the barn. I was gonna plug it in when I got done just for that. Then I was gonna unplug the damn thing and leave it the rest of the year.
yeah. But, like I bought mine used just for taking care of frames. And
Yeah,
like I said, I'll either put them in a plastic coat, or because I've got to store the supers, the super boxes anyway. I'll take a piece of, like drop cloth plastic. And I'll duct tape, that piece of drop cloth plastic to the top and bottom, and then just stack them up.
what I've been doing with mine is I get the 30-gallon Rural King garbage bags.
Yeah.
And they work really well for you to be able to fold over and tape up the honey supers.
Yeah,
But it seems like I get wax moths even if I do that, because I haven't put them in a freezer.
yeah.
Yeah,
But if they're left out, they're out in the barn that's not heated. So they should get cold enough in the winter.
so there's a couple of things, I guess I wanted to talk, so here's what a wax moth looks like
Mhm.
when you see them flying. I guarantee you've seen these around your house and stuff like that. And then here's what the larva looks like. Now, sometimes it's confusing as to the difference between small hive beetle larva and wax moth larva. And usually it's the size and kind of what they look like and where they're at in here. Anybody that's ice fished or a bluegill fish or something like that, you might have seen use wax worms for that.
Ooh, me.
Spikes, yeah, same thing. Spikes are baby wax worms. Yeah, so this is kind of what they'll do. They'll pile up inside of the hive here. So there's a couple times when your hives can get infested with these. So you could have your hive get infested with these during regular season. So if you have a weak hive, for example, or you have a hive that dies out, if there's not enough bees to patrol space, you can get a waxworm problem. And they could get in there and lay larvae. And depending on when the larva's laid is to when the damage will happen, right? So what they'll do is they'll have these cocoons that look like this here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen those. And I can't believe I don't see the picture of it here.
They'll actually leave marks in the wood.
That's correct. They'll
Yeah.
bore into the wood of the frames, and that's what I was looking for. They'll bore into the wood of the frame, and they'll bore into the wood of the boxes. So sometimes you'll get lucky, and they might only be on an outside frame where the bees couldn't patrol. Or they might be in an area up against the box rather than on the frame. But the problem is they'll damage all your wax. So they'll get in there and lay their larvae in there and just make a giant mess on your frames. And then you'll find this. Oops.
Can you look in whichever one
Yeah,
you're
right there you go.
on? That's-
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like a hell of a spider web in there, but it's even finer than that.
Yeah, well, they'll lay all those silks
Yeah.
on there as well. So so they'll kind of look like this part right here
Yeah.
when you find them when it's too late. So
Mhm.
the problem with this is now you gotta scrape off all this part of the wax. This part of the wax might still be good. But usually what I'll do is I'll take a hive tool and scrape all this off of here. And sometimes I'll pressure wash it. It just depends how bad the infestation is or something like that. And at $4 a frame right now, I'm saving frames. Now, if you have, one or two hives, you might say, I'll just throw them away and replace them. Not a big deal. It just depends what your tolerance for spending is and stuff like that.
So Tom, when you pressure wash those, do you pull the foundation out of the frame?
It depends. So sometimes yes, sometimes
How hard
no.
you hit it?
What's that?
Depends on how hard you hit it with the power wash.
That's correct. Sometimes you'll blow it out of the frame with a pressure washer.
Yeah.
I would recommend you dial down your pressure or stand back a bit. I try and damage as little comb as possible. That's really my big concern. So I usually don't freeze them because I just don't have freezer space for it. So if you have a couple of hives, you don't have to throw the whole box in there. You could just rotate 2 frames in there. You might, depending on your situation at home, you might be able to sneak them in the regular freezer or above your other stuff, or maybe next to the cow that you bought from the kids, something like that. In between in your deep freeze, you might be able to fit a couple of frames in at a time, and that's okay. That'll kill them as well. If you get later in the winter, usually our winters will kill them that are in there. But the name of the game here is to get them before they become a problem, before they goo up your frames here like this and make this big mess and ruin everything.
I think I'll start putting spacers between mine instead of just stacking them up all together, because once one gets in, it's just kind of like this little enclosed area.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what I do with mine, and I've had pretty good success with it, is when I finish my boxes after I extract, I lay them all on their sides. So I read this from the Natural Beekeeping book. Gosh, what's his name? When I saw him speak, I was not as happy as I thought I was going to be, but can't believe I forgot his name. I've seen him a couple times speak. This guy right here, Ross Conlon, I think is his name. Ross Conlon right here. So in his book, he talks about this where he'll make like a stick and they'll hang the boxes on there. But just the key takeaway is if you stack the boxes and allow sun to get to them, wax moths won't go in there. So if you leave the box, I leave them on their side for a day or two, 3 days, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, if I forget them, whatever, your comb is gold. So that you treat the comb, I treat the comb is worth more than me than the honey. So the comb is very important. So I'll put the boxes on their sides, let the bees round them out so that they're clean and dry.
Yeah, and I've done that.
So like, for example, Kathy just consolidated down her hives the other night. And she had them out for the bees to rob, and I said, hey, we better go grab those and bring them in the garage before it rains. Because if they get wet in the rain, sometimes they can mold up and then you got another problem, which we'll go into. But what I'll do is I'll leave the boxes open so that the sun can get into them. And sun usually makes a lot of things better. So it usually keeps critters out of there. So the mice won't usually go into there. The other pests and stuff like that won't go in there. Everything will clean them out. They'll be nice and dry. There won't be moisture left in them. And the bees will rob out all that food too.
Yeah, I have 3 that are out now that got rained on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave them out a day or
And
two.
they'll be okay.
Yeah.
After it dries out a little bit, just put them up there. Worst case, you put them on top of a box fan or them blow dry like that. But
FYI, before you move off of that, Tom, our library has a copy of this.
yeah, he has 2 books too. So there's two different ones. Anyways, that was one big tip I got out of there. And what he does with this, and I've done this on and off in different seasons. I did this before I had a place in the country and had a shed. What I would do is I would put my supers on top of the inner cover on the hive, and that's where they would be for the winter. And I had relatively good success with it, unless the hive died. So I had pretty good success with those staying clean and not having pests in them. So that's just a thought. I got that out of this book.
So you put that on top of the hive.
On top of your
that you
inner
had
Just on
bees
top of
in.
the inner cover. So I don't use quilt boxes and all of those other things. All that stuff, I just put it on top of the inner cover and then put my lid on top of that. And then that way the bees can get in there and clean it out. And the bees can kind of patrol some of that area as well. Is that the best wintering scenario? I don't know. Like I said, I've done it on and off. I did it quite a bit before I had space to source them. So that worked really well for me. I have started doing the plastic wrap stuff. So like this year, I did that with my stuff when I was pulling it. So I was pulling my stuff and I was pulling a friend's stuff, and actually we usually stack up a bunch of us together, and then we get it all pulled as much as we can in shifts, and then we'll extract, and then we'll put those out for the bees to rob and put it back on hives and pull another batch and stuff like that. And I'm kind of at the mercy of a buddy. I use his garage because we kind of have it set up like a commercial kitchen. So there's a canning sink, a baker sink in there, which is a big double bin stainless steel. We have a stainless steel table in there. Actually, I think there's 2 somewhere. And it's a good space there. And he lets me do this, and he's gotten into bees too, so that helps. But one of the problems we had last year is the bees would get in and they would be all over the boxes of hives, and he would have bees all over inside of his garage, and they would poop on his car and poop on everything in the garage. So everything gets speckles and polka dots. So this year what we did and had really good success with it is I got a roll of pallet wrap. I got it from Menards. If I would have planned ahead, I probably would have gotten off Amazon and had a little better deal on it. So what I did is I wrapped that whole stack. So I put a lid on the bottom upside down. I put my boxes nice stacked straight, and then I wrapped it, or there was a lid on top, and I wrapped that with plastic wrap, and it worked really, really well. So for winter, we're doing the same thing. So we'll stack all our boxes. Once they've been in the sun, as soon as they come out of the sun, they go into the stack. Upside down lid on the bottom, lid on top, then we'll wrap that with plastic as well. Because those little cracks in between your boxes from your hive tool, if you have a box for 5-10 years, you'll start wearing out corners on them and stuff like that, or if you're inheriting stuff. Or maybe they didn't have a good paint job on them and it'll start to rot on a corner. There's a lot of things that can cause gaps. If you're not a good woodworker like me, Where when you put your stuff together, you didn't have a jig and it wasn't perfectly square. There's a lot of reasons why your boxes might have a gap, but that plastic can cover all that up. Duct tape will do the same thing. But if you keep it tight, that'll keep your mice out, that'll keep your moths out, keeps roaches out, all kinds of other things. Things that go creepy, like on a farm.
Had a lot more people saying they had picnic bugs and Asian lady beetles in their hives as well. So, well, the picnic bug was probably a free lunch.
I've seen more roaches than I've ever seen
Yeah,
this year.
I've not seen them. I've had hive beetles though.
They're like wood roaches. They're not like your traditional,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they're not like a cockroach. They're bigger.
you know.
Green or black.
Yeah. Huh, I've never seen it that funny. That's interesting.
What are those bugs with the spiked tail, like earwigs or something?
Yeah,
Earwigs.
oh, earwig.
I've had a lot of those in my hive this year.
It's usually the sign of a weak hive,
Our bad winter's coming.
or you have space, that's the bees can't get to. So like, for example, sometimes I'll have that with a migratory cover where it just doesn't fit right in a corner and they'll get into that edge. I've seen more wasps this year than I've ever seen. Like the yellow jackets have just been absolutely bananas the last month. Like they're ridiculous. I mean,
We've had some out on the farm, but we haven't had really any problems with any bugs too much this year
good for
at
you.
all.
Tell me your secret.
Dry, we were way dry. this
Yeah.
Heavy load. Heavy goats. We keep down the weeds.
Well, I mow around my hives. Mine are out in the pasture and I keep it mowed around them. But I keep tin, I put down roofing tin underneath. And then I've got pallets on top of that, so anything that falls down in there winds up on that tin. And
I'm not too happy about it.
yeah, well,
It's hot.
usually because they're out, they sit out in the sun 99% of the time. Anything that falls down there is usually dead.
That'll keep a lot of the pupation down from
Yeah.
the stuff that lays, like especially hive
Hive
beetles,
beetles.
those kind of things. Now they still can crawl.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks there. So. Does that cover the questions about supers, like putting it, so there's some other options too, there's like paramount crystals, like, old school people used to put, mothballs in there. I absolutely hate the smell of mothballs. It makes
I
me
do too, but I'd use them if they kept those damn moths out of there. As long as it didn't
It does.
adversely affect the bees when I go to put the honey supers on next spring, if they smell like mothballs, they may not like it.
I've tasted honey that tastes like mothballs.
Ooh, no, I don't want to do that.
My old mentor, that's what he did. I call my old mentor because he was like 92. And he would pack them with mothballs in between there. And he's like, this is what you do with your stuff in the fall. Because it'll keep the bugs out of there. And I could taste it. I could taste it in there. I could smell it in the boxes and stuff.
I'm just thinking a couple of mothballs, not very many.
Experiment.
That's gross. So I pulled a super off, and I had meant to put the frames out. I just never got around to it. It's actually in a little plastic tote that I got my nuke from. So actually, it's been sitting in the back of my car, in the trunk of my car, for the past couple of months. So I'm thinking of just stuffing it in the basement, and I think I have a super or two in the basement already that have varying amounts of comb. So what I was thinking of doing is just getting some saran wrap and saran wrapping all around it, just to keep anything that's in the basement from crawling up in there. But is it okay to just leave it like that? There's no honey, it's just comb.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, it's up to you if you want to have it inside your house. I personally don't want them inside my house, but yeah, you can wrap them and do all that stuff. The big thing is if you're gonna wrap them with plastic or anything like that, make sure they're absolutely dry, bone dry. Otherwise,
Okay.
you'll just be ruined with mold
Yeah, those.
in the spring. The wood will be moldy.
Yeah.
Moldy, and all that stuff will be a problem. And maybe that's something to be concerned about in the winter down in your basement. Sometimes a lot of people have moisture problems. What's
No,
the-
it's pretty dry down there.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean,
The,
experiment.
the biggest thing to worry about, and it's not so much in the supers themselves, because I can probably wrap those airtight, is in the nuke box that I have. It's one of those plastic ones that has all that sort of special ventilation. I don't know that I can get that completely bug repellent free. So that's why I kind of left it in the trunk. It's like, well, I know there's no bugs in the car, so I could at least leave it in the trunk, and all winter if I want to, at least it'll stay frozen.
Yeah, I mean, if you had it in the trunk during the summer, you know, cars will easily be 110, 120 plus degrees. So it could have.
Oh yeah, there's honey in the trunk. No doubt.
Take it
No
out, let
doubt.
the bees clean it off.
Sign of a beekeeper right there. That's for sure. These are the critters that I've seen a lot of this year. Is these wood roaches. A lot of times if you have a traditional hive with an inner cover and a telescoping lid, they'll be in between there. Then in the fall, I always see the spiders move into those gaps as well.
Yeah.
I see some spiders.
Especially like around the outside between the box and that lip.
Actually, this summer I've seen a lot of well, a few ants, but a lot of spiders, especially big spiders, which is really disconcerting when you pop the lid and you're expecting to see bees and it's this big ass spider like staring back at you. So a lot of spiders and quite a few praying mantises. Manti.
In the hive? In the hive?
No. Just usually they hang out under the telescoping cover or on the cover, and they wait for bees to come by, and I assume they try to snatch them out of the air, or they just hang out and wait for bees to land.
They do, they're pretty wild to watch. I'll get some of those big invasive ones. Kathy had a friend tell her that the one that she had in her garage was an invasive.
Hang on, I had to find the unmute button. I think she told me it was Asian one or something like that.
Yeah, so these dudes and dudettes, the bigger ones are the females. Yeah, they're
The green ones are the males, right? And the gray / stick colored ones are the females. And so that's mostly what I've been seeing on the hive are ants, large spiders, and praying mantises.
and that can kind of give you an idea how big some of these will get. I've had some of them on the tops of nukes that cover a third of the nuke lid. That's how big they are. They're enormous. And they'll snatch the bees out so fast. You just see them munching them.
We'll also snatch little songbirds.
Right. And they're like a little wider too on the back here than a regular praying mantis. So these I guess you're supposed to snatch these ones.
So if you see praying mantises by your hives, you should kill them. We're not-
Oh, okay.
I think I'd take them out and put them.
That's my
car.
question.
I don't snatch.
Yeah,
I love praying mantises.
so do I, but if they're sitting on my hive picking off my bees as they go in and out.
I don't usually pick on the bees. I clear I don't want them around my mating yards.
Mhm.
Because they'll snatch the virgin queens when they go out to fly or catch them when they come back after meeting. And that sucks. But I don't really mind them because they eat all the other things in the garden. But yeah, I mean, it's just up to you what you want to
She
do.
would like relocate them to another part of your yard.
Right. People that farm vegetables, they'll actually buy.
Yeah, you can buy the cases.
I used to get them, and
Yeah.
that's why I have them at the farm, is because we released so many over the
Yeah.
years that I'll see them. I don't know if you know what the egg cases look
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I found one this spring on one of my grape arbor posts. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I'm gonna have to be careful around that and make sure that I don't knock that off,
Yeah,
because I
put
want
some
them
little
there.
colored netting around it or something, so. You'll remember where
I
it
had
is.
that summer tanger a couple years ago that was just sitting at the back of my hive, picking off one bee after.
I had them this spring,
Oh, they're
but I didn't see them,
terrible.
thankfully.
We stayed at her house for several days picking off.
Longer than that.
Yeah,
We didn't have any bees that was eating.
I feel like I had them for a couple weeks in the spring, that's for sure.
Huh.
So yeah, these are the big spiders that I see a lot are these wolf spiders and
spiders.
stuff like that. And
So if they're in the hive in the corner with a nice little web in there, that's to kill bees. They're gonna get a bee.
I smash them. So
Because
that,
earlier in the summer, I'm like, okay, hive beetles, they may chase some hive beetles that direction. And if they eat the hive beetles, good.
yeah, I don't know.
They eat bees.
Oh, yes, spiders, that's a big.
Yeah.
Really?
These big garden spiders, these are one of my favorite things on earth. They have, you'll see their web, it'll have like a
The zigzag.
dam stripe. in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It'll be like.
yeah, we have them in the garden every year, right?
And they take that down every night. Yeah, so they'll spin it and then they'll take it down in the morning.
I think only the brown house spider did that, took his web down every night. I didn't think the garden spider.
The
did.
garden spiders a lot of times will, but they put them out during the day too.
What's the one that makes the tunnel?
The wolf spider.
Yeah.
Like a wolf and a fishing spider, or they like little things they do on the water. And they fish those minnows and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Those will eat bees as well. But I don't know, I don't know, I can never keep up with them.
Yeah.
People having nightmares and what's wrong with you here, but.
We're like,
Ever have trouble with brown recluse in a hive?
No, I'd like to keep it that way.
yeah,
That'd be a nasty surprise.
I see these black spiders, I was hoping to find a picture of them in here.
The jumping spiders,
I don't know.
They're real fuzzy. And they're,
the
Black
white dots
eyes.
on their back.
I just sucked one up in the vacuum.
I'm the guy that goes and like picks up spiders and walks them outside and
yeah.
takes
No.
them out.
No.
But yeah,
Depends on my mood.
a lot of times people in the introduction to beekeeping, they're like new beekeepers, they're just panic stricken over ants. You know, oh, I got ants for my bees and I gotta put them in oil moats and put cinnamon down and all
Yeah.
kinds of things like that. And if you wanna do that, that's great too, but once your hive reaches full strength,
Mhm,
you usually won't see the ants, and it's just part of the season. You'll see them in spring,
yeah.
just like if you live in the country, a lot of times you'll see them, they'll come in by your windowsills and stuff.
We had lunch in one hive, but they were all up in the top. They weren't, they
Yeah.
were up on the top board.
That's because the bees are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They keep them pushed out,
Keep them pushed out.
yeah, and then you'll see like the animal eggs and larvae and stuff like that up in your lids. Things like that.
I didn't see any larvae, but I seen the ants.
So yeah, that's really the big thing is keeping the pests out of your equipment when you're gonna put it away, so make sure it's dry, otherwise it'll get all moldy. You know, the my rule of thumb that is, you know, if it smells bad, like if it's not something I wanna eat off of, I'll either scrape it and clean it, or it goes in a burn pile or something like that. Or it goes in swarm trash.
Now, do you wrap your hives at all?
I don't.
And you
I was
said
thinking
you
this
didn't-
year about lighting some of the ones that I have relatively close, you know, there's maybe this much space between them now, but just kind of push them all
Yeah.
to. That way, they have one last wall to.
I push them tight,
Mhm.
like a lot of my bees are on pallets and they're like that far apart, so they stay very tight. I don't know if pallets or not. I wanna go talk to my neighbor, he had a microburst come and tear up his shed. He's got a huge pile of steel siding
Mm,
sitting out there that's all mangled. And I was hoping to get a couple of pieces of that so I can put it over where I have my pallets put together. Just kind of keep things dry. I had a lot of problems with moisture getting underneath my migratory lids last year. I'm hoping to try and prevent that. So I'm also using bubble wrap like the Canadian beekeeper does.
I've got that silver. And they put it up in the attics a lot of times. It's real thin. It's not quite like, but similar to bubble wrap. And we wrap that around ours. But I also put a V quilt on top of mine too.
Yeah, this stuff right here.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I use these in between my migratory cover and the lid as well, just like the Canadian beekeeper does. So that,
so you put that up in your lid too, to help keep the heat in?
I don't know if it keeps the heat in, but it keeps it sealed. So a lot of my lids will warp. Especially like, I built some out of Adventech, they seem to warp pretty bad. I had some migratory covers that I bought, that were made out of pine, even though I painted them, they cupped up pretty bad. I think some of it was the way the greens were, when I put them together. So they actually, each board was cupped like this, so moisture came through. Sometimes you get what you pay for with it.
I usually, I've generally left my lids cocked, if I've got like little pieces of sticks laying under there, just so they're not flat.
Yeah, mine are migratory covers, so they're a little bit different. So the migratory cover looks like this. There's no lip on the edge. where
Yeah,
you're
there's
like-
no lip on those.
Oh,
Side edges, it's just a flat piece with two little,
it's just,
Drop down.
okay,
Okay, it's got a ridge on each side.
yeah, just the front and the back. but not-
that's what I used to put my honey supers on.
Right, these are really nice for your honey supers. You can put a dolly right in here and move your stack of supers easily.
Mhm.
Coats. One of the things I did this year is I bought, I don't know, 15, 20 of them from John. I had them. And they don't seem to be working. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, there's, when we were talking about the Canadian Beekeeper, I think there's still a week left to register for it. The Illinois State Beekeeper Association yearly annual meeting they have a hell of a lineup of speakers. It's worth your while to drive down to Springfield, even during the peak of rut and the peak of harvesting and all that stuff.
And well, it's that first week in November, I've gone Bambi hunting.
So yeah, it's I think it's,
Doesn't season is the first Saturday.
I think that's the day it is, so. But they have a great speaker lineup. Ken, do you remember? I know it's Canadian Beekeeper, there's another one too.
I know Lorraine used to go to that all the time.
There is, here. Oh, what was his name? I know it's a name I've heard, but it is November 5th.
Yeah.
It's, hey, Tom,
Opening season.
Yeah,
Jim 2, Ian Stepler, Adam Dolezal.
Adam is from U of I, right? I think so.
Those are the names of the speakers. Do you want me to pull up their info? November 5th in Springfield.
From 9 to 6.
Are you going, Kathy?
No, I don't think so. I've got other stuff happening that day, but things could free up because some things fall together and some things don't, but I've got the girls that day, so I don't know what we've got going on.
Yeah, so that's a great lineup. So that's probably one of the best lineups they've ever had for their fall meeting. So that's definitely one, if you can make it, that'd be a great, well worth your while to go on it. It's pretty reasonable too. I forget what the registration. It's like under $50 and that includes your meal.
So yeah, if you get your tickets after the deadline of 10/29 at 4 p.m., it's still the same price, but you don't get a lunch. So you could even sign up after the 29th.
I've always walked in daily event, I just skip lunch. And sometimes they have lunches left over, but usually it's not as organized as it is this year. So usually it was at the Department of Ag building. And it was just like a big room with tables and stuff like that, and it wasn't at a conference center like that, so definitely a big difference there. Yeah, there you go, $50 there, $40 if you're a vet, so that's nice. Yeah, so anyways, shameless plug for that. That's that'll be a good meeting to go to for sure. If you haven't followed the Canadian Beekeeper on YouTube, he's got a lot of really good content. He really nerds out on a lot of topics, and I love it when he rants and just goes on. Like the spring, he was just getting hammered with problems of flooding and just everything that could have gone wrong. Had record.
He had 2 occasions, I think, where at least one of his bee yards was flooded out. His first set of hives that he recovered what he called, he referred to them as the archives, because you know, they floated around different places, and
Okay.
the bees were like in about this much of the hive. So he had to rework those hives and get them back out. And then, I think it was like 2 weeks later, he had another area flood.
Yeah, he had a heck of a year on there. So one of the other things that's unfortunate is you'll have a dead out hive, hopefully not all of them dead. But when you do have one, I find the best time to clean them out is when it's cold out. The colder the better, but it's, I like it because it gives me something to do during the winter when it's miserable out, there's no ice to go fishing. So I'll go out there and go through hives and straighten things out, you know, I'll mark them as I go through and feed them if they're dead. And then I'll go through and clean them out. So when I say clean them out, here's at least, I don't know, Ken, what do you do with your dots or Kents, what do you guys do?
Well, I mean, you know,
How do you clean them?
taking your advice. Gone and, you know, at least cleaned out the dead bees from the hive. I will try to store things as best I can.
You actually talk about that a little bit, because I got to see your little bee shack that you guys have out there. They have a beautiful shed that can do.
Yeah, you know, that it gets more disorganized, and then, you know, Sharon throws a fit, says we gotta get this cleaned up. But you know, we try to stack the boxes up, and we've gotten to the point where we've got more boxes sometimes than we can handle. But the other thing is the way we prepare our bees for winter uses up some of the equipment that takes the biggest space, because we run single beeps during the year. And then during fall preparation, we go through each single beep and we find the frames that we feel are most broody, you know, put them in a bottom beep, and we put foam boards or a plywood follower board with foam attached to it to take up 4 of the slots. We put 6 frames in the bottom, we put another deep on, and then we put another 6 frames in the top. And right now, we're feeding them sugar syrup as fast as they'll take it. Just to make sure that if they haven't got it filled out, that they hopefully will be filling it out. And if they're not filling it out and they're still taking sugar syrup, the assumption is that they're eating stores that you're giving them rather than stores that they've stored.
Yeah, and mine are eating a lot. I've got my syrup on 2 to 1 or 2 to 1 now.
Right.
And they're taking all kinds of syrup, but hell, I didn't look in the bottom of mine, because when I went to pick up the top deep, because I run 2 deeps, my top deep probably weighed 80 to 90 pounds.
Right.
They were so heavy I couldn't hardly pick them up. I was just like, I'm just leaving these where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll suck it down pretty quick, the syrup. I think like Kathy was showing, she's like, wow, I can't believe they ate that quart of syrup, and I think they did it in like 2 days. That's not uncommon.
Yeah, I'm using half-gallon jars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've fed mine at least, I think, 4 or 5 gallons of syrup, and I regret not pulling the top super because it was pretty well empty, but I didn't pull it. I was just like, well, let me start feeding him. I got other stuff to do, but it's time to start feeding him. And I've probably given 4 or 5 gallons, and I haven't tried lifting it recently, but I hope they're not storing it in that top super because I really want to pull it off because it looks like um, I'm running all mediums. So it looks like they're all in the 4th box and down, but there weren't a lot of bees in the 5th box. So I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, the thing we found is. By, making them more vertical rather than, sort of like moving them from a ranch style house to a 2-story. And what we found is when we were going through our dead outs, we'd see bees in the center and 4 nice frames on the outside.
Mhm.
And so by stacking it up, they're all in the center and we put as much of the good resources right above them.
So in the, you have 1 deep in the summer, but then you have 3 deeps in the winter, or just 2 deeps, okay.
Yeah,
But we had just pulled our, honey supers off. I couldn't narrow mine down that much. There's just too many bees in there right now.
Yeah, they were full all the way
They-
across.
I mean, they were full, both,
yeah,
both deeps were full of bees.
our hives are sort of busting at the seams too.
Yeah.
And the difference is we've always had a single bee.
Mhm.
And, we sort of, as we take the super off, we are giving them at least 2 extra frames.
Yeah.
Because of what we're putting in it. Now, the other thing is, where do those extra frames come from? Well, in the spring, when they start going crazy and filling up the frames with honey, I pull, nice pulley cap
Yeah,
bee frames from that.
And
put
then
it
you
in the
push them all
freezer,
back
and put
in.
it into a plastic pillow. And the
I should have
plastic,
done that so I could do splits in the spring together.
That's a pretty good point that you bring up, is it's hard for people to have 1 or 2 hives. It actually gets easier, the 2 point, the more hives, I feel like 6 is kind of like a magic number right there. I don't know what you guys think, what's your magic number? There's no.
There's no.
Well, you got the.
But yes, when we did have 6, it was like super manageable, but then we went to 19 and then now we're back to like 13.
I feel like you'd learn a lot at 6.
Yeah,
Compared to 1 or 2 hives, like 1 or 2 hives, I feel like you're always struggling with things, and like the more hives you have, then the more extra gear you'll have to be able to accommodate when they're busting at the seams, when they need a super, when you need a frame to move around. You have that extra.
but then you
gear.
just always need more, because when those 6 hives are booming, then you gotta have
I've-
6
I've-
more honey supers, then you gotta have.
You don't have to worry.
It's like,
I've got enough gear for probably at least 6, if not 10. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah,
I've got plenty of stuff laid up in the barn that I can go get.
So you're ready for splits next year.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to put your stuff away?
we've done different things. The thing that seems to work the best for us is just we take up all the honey supers, let the bees clean them up. Make sure they're really good and clean, then we try to freeze them. Take them out of the freezer, let them dry, because sometimes they get that condensation from the freezer. And then we just stack them, we put like a political sign or something pretty tight on the floor, and then just stack up all the honey supers. And then another political sign and a weight on top of it. And we've had very few problems with bugs getting in that, but they're also inside our garage.
A concrete floor.
Yeah, and it's a concrete floor, if I'm worried at all, there's a line of sticky traps around it, just to make sure
So,
any of the crawlers.
Mine are about 6 feet high.
Yeah.
Pallet racking, basically. So I have to go up a step ladder to store all my stuff
Mhm.
that's up off.
But you don't wrap it or do anything.
I don't usually wrap it or anything.
Yeah. So we have several stacks of that next to like the shelf that then has all the other supplies. It can have the empty supers or the new frames, sometimes try to get those in tubs.
Cindy, do you have a attached garage or is it detached or?
It's detached.
That's a garage at the farm.
No, that's at the house. Well, we have several apiaries, so there is some stuff that's kept out at the farm and the shed out there. It doesn't fare as well.
Two farms and.
It doesn't fare as well as in the garage in town, but yes, we have a lot of organizing to do before winter. We still have,
50 by 100 sheet.
yeah, we were gonna do, you know, more winter prep with the bees this weekend, but it was just too windy. So
Yeah, it was awful.
the weather was nice, but it was windy and
That's
So-
being moving gear. I mixed 90 gallons of syrup.
yeah. And we haven't fed any of ours because they were still bringing in nectar like crazy and backfilling everything. And I was like, you're not gonna get into trouble, are you? It's supposed to be winter soon.
I'm worried that a bunch, that they'll laid up a bunch this
Mhm.
last weekend, and then they're gonna chill and
Yeah,
have all that, but it is what it is. Hopefully they don't get.
yeah, and that's always the thing, after you've been doing it for years and years, it's like, okay, the years where it gets cold and stays cold, then they're not moving around as much, so they're not eating as much. The years where you think, oh, wow, it's still super nice out, and the bees are active, but there's really nothing for them to forage on, so they're just being active and then going home and eating out of the fridge, so then you end up with more stuff, less stuff, stores over the winter, so.
When do you guys switch over to just dried sugar then?
We probably won't do that until it freezes.
Soon the bees
But-
can't move. so
yeah.
They can't fly. Otherwise they carry it out.
Yeah,
So after that's the question. I'm going to make some, not pollen patties, but like sugar patties. I found I'm using, oh, I can't remember the name. Posted a video. Randy. I'm
Randy
using
Oliver.
Randy's video. Yeah,
Yeah.
Randy's video that was posted a few days ago. So I'm going to use his recipe to make some sugar patties, sugar pollen patties. But I'm still waiting for it to get cold to do that. So when's the good time? Is it like after Thanksgiving?
It depends.
yeah,
So like there's years where I've inspected bees on Christmas Day. And then there's days when, you know, it's miserable. You know, first week in November, or you'll get cold for a while and then it'll warm up. So it just depends. So it's as soon as you have you know, you just watch your weather. I'm a deer hunter, so I'm constantly staring at the weather. And I'm a waterfowl hunter, so I'm constantly staring at the weather and all that stuff. And I'm a beekeeper, so I'm constantly staring at the weather. A hobby farmer, you know, so like the weather means everything to me. So I'm always looking at that 7 to 10 day forecast to see what's up. So when I see those nighttime temps drop, you know, and stay cold, and my daytime temps below 40 degrees for a week at a time, I'm gonna try and get it in there before that. Now, a lot of people panic and say you can't open your hive when it's cold. You can open your hive when it's cold and put food in there. You can't dilly-dally, and you don't wanna pull frames out and look at them. But you can slip a sugar brick in there or you know, a snowball of feed like Randy shows. I mix something very, very close to what Randy makes as well. I mix it in a cement mixer. And it works really well. And I can make 3-pound bricks, whatever a takeout container is usually about the size I mix. But I'll put that in real quick in between like a feeding shim. I'll do that in November. I think last year Kathy helped me do it on Thanksgiving Day. It was really cold that day. Actually, they were kind of flying a little bit. It was cold, but it's probably like in the 30s. And bees are just like us. So it's just like the last week when we got that cold spell, everybody's like, ooh, it's horrible. Versus
January, that'll seem warm.
yeah, versus that, you know, that day in February where it's 40 degrees and you'll see everybody in shorts. And,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I think the same thing happens with the bees, is they'll stay tight when it's that first cold spell and stuff like that, and then they'll venture out even more. I saw bees flying the year before last when it was like 35 degrees. So just
You're talking about how you push hives together. This is a
Mhm.
double nuke.
with your FLIR camera.
Yeah, and we have a FLIR camera that we attach to our iPhone. And you can see that bright white area. That's where both colonies are huddling against the same wall.
Mhm.
So,
And then if you can see when they get in the very top box, you know they're out of food, or they weren't able to get to that food down below, so. Same thing, if you open the lid and their little faces are looking up at you, you know they need food.
Yeah, right there is what Ken's talking about, so, and actually what Ken and Cindy were just talking about, so here's two hives that are next to one another. You can see the barrier right there, you can see these bees are in trouble, they're at the lid. So, they're gonna be in trouble pretty quick, so once they hit that lid and they're out of food, they're gonna die. And then you're gonna see,
Unless you got food in there.
that bar's always in the way.
It doesn't look like there's any food at the top there, it was
It-
thin
it's-
line above them.
You'll see these, goodness. I had it
Was
right.
that $27,000 for a FLIR camera?
No,
yeah,
no, it was like
There might be a commercial version that's that price, but.
Yeah. I
Well, I thought I just saw it on your,
Amazon, it was like
page as you were scrolling
$250.
along.
The ones fire departments use are about $20,000, and I think those are made by FLIR. But the one for your iPhone, I think it's $200. something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, probably 250 bucks.
This will be what happens right here. And notice, this is really important in this picture. Look what's right here. Right, so it's just, keep in mind, they can't move, so they can't break that cluster. They can't get over here to get to that honey, and they'll die. That's why that sugar cake right here on top of that cluster is very important.
So when you slide your sugar cake in, you already kind of know where the bees are located in the hive, then you.
Yeah, you should be able to tell, yeah.
Oh, when you open the lid.
Yeah.
clustered up like that.
And they stay in about the same place all winter.
They'll usually stay mostly towards the center of the hive, because it's gonna be warmest, and then they'll go to the food above them. They can make little steps like that, but for them to cross over and go to another frame and over where the honey is, if it's too cold, they won't break that cluster. And that cluster could have several frames down in between it, but they're all clustered like that, so they're not gonna break that cluster to move over.
So when you
somewhere else.
open it up, you always
Yeah.
get to see where they are and put
Right.
the food right there.
Right,
Yep, so you can see like a before and after, like, right, this is exactly what I do.
yeah,
So I'll put this brick, I'll use like a takeout container, like you get Chinese food in or something like that, or. Just
frozen dinner.
a bowl of sort, whatever I can find, right? And I'll have 10, 15, 20 of those, and I'll just cycle them over, so I'll put it. I'll form it in there, pack it real tight, and then I'll put it on a piece of paper, and I'll lay them out, on a fan in front of them to dry them out. But I'll just keep filling that
Yeah,
container.
well, they're just big sugar cubes.
So
Yeah,
you'll see right here, here's the bees, right? They're right here, and the sugar cube is right on top. This is a warm day probably, so there's bees over here on the edge. So sometimes the bees will be over here, sometimes they'll be over here. Most of the time they're in the middle. But you can see this is just a super that's on top. Oh no, actually, this is like a
that's Jim.
pin with a vent on here, right? So there's a, yeah, you can see vents with screen on it right there to get the moisture out. So this looks like a pretty good size one, but it's always hard to tell, but this might be like 4 inches or something. I think mine are 2 inches because that's what John sold. I didn't have time to make them. But yeah, you could just put the brick of sugar in there, or you can make the snowballs like Randy showed on there. That works really well too. I generally don't like to use the snowballs because sometimes it'll come apart and then it goes down between the frames. And I waste some of the sugar, which isn't necessarily a big deal, but you know, sometimes they'll go get it, but I find a lot of times they'll just carry it out and throw it out in front of the hive, which is.
But couldn't you do exactly what you're saying, make the snowball and let it dry out a little bit and then put it in there?
Yep, exactly. And
Okay.
If you pay attention, like in his video, what he'll talk about is use this much water, but then he shows you like how it packs. That's what's important,
Mhm.
is that amount of water changes. So it's learning how to make, it's kind of like making bread. And once you get good at making bread, you get a feel for it, and you'll know when you need to add a little bit of water to it, or you need to add a little more flour to it. You'll kind of get a feel for it, but if you watch how he packs that, that's what's important. And the big thing is that you're not putting something with moisture inside of that hive, or not much moisture in there, because if it has moisture and it drips, or goes down on the bees, you're gonna chill them. So it's just like, if you were outside in the cold and I squirted you with a hose,
You're gonna be 10 times more miserable than.
things
you
are
were.
gonna get very complicated quick.
Yes, they are.
Aren't there some of the recipes that have like a little bit of vinegar in them too?
Yep.
A tablespoon of vinegar or something.
Yep, so you'll see they're like right here in the center, and then you can kind of just keep replacing that cake. I think it was Randy Oliver, somebody had a talk where they said, don't squish the bees when you put these cakes in,
Mhm.
because the dead bees actually causes problems for the other bees, like the smushed bee causes problems for the other bees, like there's something, I forget what the story was about it, so sometimes I'll take a smoker or I'll lay a piece of paper on there, and then the bees will kind of move away from the paper, and they'll put the brick on there, and they'll just chew through the paper.
So you always make the cakes, you don't put just raw sugar like on a newspaper.
Oh, I've done that.
There's never, yes, all the time, this is what I do, it
Yeah.
depends what I got.
Yeah.
If I prep the head, which is
Yeah.
sometimes rare.
Yeah.
I'll have little bricks and I'll put them out there, it just depends, like if it's -20, I'm not gonna be out in my shed with a cement mixer making the stuff, and I rarely ever have enough of them, and I don't have a place to store them where critters aren't gonna get into it. So, I'll make what I need to put on hives, and that's it, if I get more time, sometimes I'll just go to Aldi's and buy, 50 bags of 4-pound bags of sugar, and I'll put it on top of there and spritz it with a little maybe healthy and call it good. Your results may vary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ideally, this is what I like to do. And
And
then
you put the Honeybee Healthy on in your,
I just put a spritz of it on there, just to get them to go to it, because I've had times where I put plain sugar in here and they don't go to it. Like they just won't, they don't eat it for some reason. I don't know what the deal is. Like if they're not right where the sugar is, sometimes they won't eat it. I don't know why.
Sometimes you can't get that sugar in there fast enough and then they're just all over it.
Yep.
So.
So like you'll see in this one picture here. Where this will be what happens here. This makes me very nervous when I see this, and I've seen this on our Facebook page, some people doing this. Where they'll make sugar boards in these deep inner cover lids, so they have to get through this hole right here to get to this feed.
yeah,
This is dangerous.
yeah, because if they're clustered somewhere other than where that hole is,
I would fill this with, if you're gonna fill this with sugar, which I think is a waste, sugar. If you got that kind of money, go ahead, fill it. But what I would do is I would flip this upside down and just put the cake on top of the bees. And like use this as a shim.
yeah,
So what,
That looks like they did raw sugar though.
what these covers are made for a lot of times is a piece of 2-inch foam insulation. And I bought a bunch of those when I first started beekeeping. And I wish I would have bought like another 100 of them because they're really, really, really nice. They were made from a long, long time ago from really good material, and they were wax dipped. And they were the best air covers I ever had, and they were made to hold a piece of 2-inch foam on top of that hive. And I wish I had those again. But this makes me very nervous to do this right here. You might have some success, I don't know. But you can tell where they ate out of the sugar right here.
yeah.
And this is a warm day, because you'll see them all over here and stuff like
And it
that.
depends on what you're on top of.
Those are the
too.
days that scare me during the winter,
Absolutely.
because they break cluster and they get like that, and then the temperature drops back down to in the low 20s, and you come back out and your hive's dead.
Which we get way too many of, it seems like
Yeah.
lately, we'll get a lot of those warm days during the
Yeah.
winter. But what they'll do a lot of times is they'll take this sugar when it's warm and they'll haul it down and pack it in the comb.
Yeah,
So you'll see frames packed with sugar a lot of times. Sometimes it's hard to tell, is that my poop, or is that,
Mhm.
you got the lid here. Like this.
That's always been our downfall, is getting them through the winter. So that's, I'm trying to figure out all this, because
Mhm.
it just makes me so sad.
Like this makes me really nervous too.
What do they got?
Right
Liquid?
here, looks like a feeder of some sort. Looks like honey, it's just crystallized out, but they got their quote board there. I mean, there's a lot of different solutions. Right now, I want to see hives that are just boiling liquid bees. That's the way I want to put them in the winter.
So they're feeding syrup in the winter, it says there on the right side.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Maybe they have really mild
Maybe
winters.
they're in Missouri.
Yeah, location is really important.
They're in Alabama.
Actually, this guy is, he's got a lot of really good material. This is a really good page, by the way, Honeybee Suite.
Mm.
He's got a lot of good material on there. I should say, I don't.
Thought you weren't supposed to feed syrup in the winter.
Well, that looks like pretty solid.
St. Charles,
Yeah.
wow. Well, I guess there's some more part-time.
But that looks like it's up in a blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Looks like
like
it's
it's
all
up
kind
in a quilt box.
Yeah, a quilt box.
That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I'll see people too, they'll put like a pan of sugar inside of the hive. That makes me nervous, because then they gotta go around the pan to get to it.
Yeah,
Sugar with pan over it. Maybe not a bad
That's
idea.
too far to get to if it's cold.
Mhm.
Exactly. Just always keep in mind that how far you wanna go, you know, when it's cold out.
Mhm.
Multiply it times 1,000.
Stick 'em, jack 'em.
Right. Right.
I like.
What's that image on the right-hand side, all the way to the right,
This,
below that? Yeah, that one.
this just looks like sugar cakes on top of a queen excluder.
Mhm.
yeah,
So,
But that's
this is
bad
a
too.
pond.
spacer.
It's bad too, because if they need to move up there altogether and they're not just going up and grabbing a bite or takeout,
This
they
could be
can't
a
get the
double
queen
dip.
through there.
Yeah,
This time of year, we use a feeder that it looks like a butt cake can, a plastic butt cake can. And so you pour your syrup into the well around the outside, and then there's a little plastic cup around that. So my logic is in the winter, or, you know, in this colder weather, that heat is going up into that area,
Mhm.
and, you know, they just feed around the little cone of the bundt cake.
it's kind of like this one right here.
That's
Oh, okay.
exactly what we use.
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of see the,
And that holds about a half gallon, and I had 10 hives that in a day drank the half gallon that was in that feeder.
oh yeah.
So
If we have, I forgot what the weather looks like this weekend, if it's above,
60.
yeah, I'll be checking feeders again this weekend, probably mixing another.
I'm gonna put
gallon.
more feet on mine tomorrow, but they still have some over the weekend, but.
So like, I had a lot of hives get really dangerously low. Like a lot of times I'll give them a lift to kind of get an idea for how heavy they are. And if they're just stripping honey out of them, it's bananas how much they're going through, because they're just loaded with bees, all that brood is emerging.
Yeah.
They're feeding all those bees, so just keep in mind that they're gonna be going through it pretty quick, as fast as you can feed them a lot of times. So as far as like cleaning out the hives, I wanted to show this here. So some of the things I'll do is I'll bang I'll have some of this. Everybody's seen some wild comb, I'm sure, in their hives. So like these, right now, I'm finding, you know, hives that I forgot space or something like that. I'll take and bang bang the bees off of it, and then I'll lay this off to the side when I'm stripping rod it clean. And then I'll scrape all this into my solar melter and melt that down. But you don't want to put this in a winter, because all that space there is just, it's gonna be a problem. Where the bees are just gonna get up in there and not be able to get to feed and die. So definitely do that. In your hive boxes, one of the things when you have the bees die on the frames, I find that when it's cold, you can kind of take the frame and just give it a whack against something hard. The bees fall out really easy. Where once it starts to get a little warmer, it's not as easy to get them out. So definitely something to keep in mind there. And I'll also take my hive tool and clear the. The little rabbit that's here in the frame, I'll take my hive tool and just clear that with the hook side. I'll clear all those out and I'll scrape off any burr comb that are on the insides of the boxes. I'll scrape the tops of my bars. That's usually the only time I clean the stuff off the top of my
Yeah.
bars. Unless it's causing a gap, that's the only time I clean them. There's other people that just can't stand having that in their hives, they'll clean that off each time. Choose your way of doing it, but if anybody dies out, I'll scrape all that off as much as I can. Same thing with the propolis and all that.
I try to scrape a lot of the propolis off, but I put the little metal guards down the sides of mine. Because I find that I don't tear the wood up, that I can scrape down through there and get it cleaner without tearing anything up.
I just had a guy give me a bunch of these weird hives, they're 9-frame hives. And they're made out of random wood, they're different thicknesses and stuff like that, they're all the same outside dimension, but the other, anyways, all of them have those nice metal rabbits inside of them that people used to put in their boxes
Hi,
before.
Katie.
It's really nice to do.
The flat ones, not the ones that are space them out for lines.
Not one with space out.
Yeah.
Beekeepers.
So you scrape off that propolis, you do anything with it or just toss it?
Toss it.
If you got a market, definitely, or if you wanna make stuff out of it. I had a guy from Ukraine stop me when I was working hives behind the still one time. And I could see him kind of eyeballing me and, looking and pointing at his wife and went over there and talked to him and he's like, oh yeah, I've been trying to find this. Do you ever have propolis? And I said, you want propolis? Hang on. And I went over and scraped him a golf ball size
Yeah.
thing of propolis and gave it to him and you thought I gave him a Ferrari. So he had all kinds of, he's like, oh, I take this and I put it in Everclear and I make tincture out of it for throats, sore throats and all kinds of things. And his wife did something with it with like cosmetics or something. I don't know. They had all kinds of plans for it. So it goes for a pretty good price. You can collect enough of it. So
Maybe I ought to keep mine then.
Yeah, you should.
definitely
Sticky
don't
mess.
tell your plants.
Yeah.
Just keep a bucket when you go through your hives. Keep all those little wax balls and stuff that you scrape off and.
I've got all my cappings and everything now that Denise is gonna do something with, but need to be able to melt the wax first, I guess.
So like I wanna see even heavier than this going into winter.
Wow.
So that I want them boiling with these, just literally boiling, and I wanna squeeze them down as tight as they can into the boxes. I don't wanna have any empty space. I don't wanna have any comb that's not drawn. If I do, it's gonna be like an outside frame. Just get them down consolidated. I really like Ken's idea if I had the time to do that, maybe when I retire. I would make those boards with the foam on there and take out any undrawn. I think that's a really good way to do it.
Mhm.
But yeah,
The thing I found is I'll use a piece of 1.5 inch foam on the two outside.
I think that, I like that idea.
And then, the thing that I found is if I just do foam, they're gonna chew into that foam.
absolutely.
But if I put, the next frames in, I'll use, a follower board where I've made it with a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. And then, put a thinner piece of foam in there to make it the width of the frame. And then as I'm going through spring, there's times when I thought, okay, this hive, I don't want to give them 4 frames of space at once. I want them to build up and still keep their heat in because it's March,
Yeah.
something like that, so.
I think that's the cool part with your floor, is you can see what's going on inside
Yeah.
there,
Mhm.
right? Is you can see some of that stuff, and it takes a little bit of fiddling to learn how to use your floor and know like when the best time is to go out and look at them and stuff like that.
Can't go out too soon after dark, because there could be heat from the day
Yeah,
hanging on that metal at the top and.
It kills me, but I try to go out, first thing in the morning before the sun even
Sun
gets
comes
up
up,
out of it.
yeah.
I borrowed one of these right here, it's pretty pricey, $1,800 from Jim Wellwood, actually, he's a home inspector too. he let me borrow this. This is how I found where the bees were at Ewing Mansion.
Mm.
So I was able to narrow down where they were in the soffit.
Oh, it's a good second use for it.
Mhm.
I call Matt and see if I can borrow one of those.
And the,
He's a lieutenant at the fire,
yeah,
for Urbana Fire Department.
Yeah, that's where I was seeing that $27,000 stuff when you were scrolling through there.
this is not one you would give a firefighter, that's for sure. The ones that they have are like, they're made to get banged around a bit and
Yeah.
ruggedized and all that stuff, because they're pretty hard on the gear. But it allows them
Then
to
it would go thing.
be able to help search for where people are inside of the building. It's pretty wild, like you'll see footprints on carpeting. That's how sensitive they can get. So this is interesting, you can see the nukes stacked up here, so you'll see where the clusters are, and how big they are. So,
They're hanging close to each other. Like,
well, there's a gap here, see their pallets.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can see the pallet.
So this is probably commercial pallets stacked on top of one another.
Yeah, but I was talking about the two side by side here now.
Yeah,
You don't know how cold
It's
it
pretty
is.
warm out. It's
Yeah.
40.
Yeah, oh yeah, 40 degrees, I wouldn't need to be.
Yeah.
Maybe these are in a cellar too. These might be like
Ian's
like
place.
Ian does, or those kinds of things. So yeah, there's all kinds of tricks here. One of these days I'll buy a FLIR, do that. As far as clearing out, any other tricks for cleaning out dead bees and getting your equipment shaped up?
I would just say, don't be too eager after a super cold snap, because we had, it was warm a couple years ago. Temperature dropped, it was like 15 below or something overnight. And then the next day I was like, I want to see if the bees are still alive. And I went out there and they were just not moving at all. And so I was like, oh, this hive's dead. And I started shaking them out. And then pretty soon a few of the bees started flying around, they would just turgid.
That's what we had. I had one last year that I showed.
Yeah,
I found them the next day, moved over to the side, so I wasted a whole.
yeah.
They get immobile.
Mhm.
So that's really
Yeah.
good advice.
Take a couple of them out and hold them in your hand for a few minutes, blow on them, and see if they start.
See if they sting you.
Yeah,
If you're lucky enough to have a heated shed or something like that, during the winter or early in the spring is a good time to repaint your gear.
mhm.
Scrape it as best as you can or pressure wash it, make sure it dries out, get it repainted.
Yeah,
Everybody always asks, like, what do you use to paint your hives? What do you guys use?
Well, until Sharon decided we wanted to have all white hives. I'd go to the bargain paint.
So whatever paint I have in the basement.
I use the external mist tints from
Yeah.
Lowe's.
You guys are the reasons I can't find them anymore.
yeah, that's what we need. If we get ours in Fairbury. I don't think you're trapped in the Fairbury area. Yeah, and then, yeah, my goal is to have a certain paint color for each year. And then, things happen.
Mine's just whatever color suits me.
I had a long run of like Susan G. Komen paint. Those were my absolute favorites, because
Wow.
you can't miss them.
Right,
Like that, I had a guy spray a bunch of my hives from a crop duster. And I'm like, dude, you should be flying a plane, because if you miss those, they were sitting on gravel, I mean, they're
yeah,
sore thumbs sticking out in the field. But, somebody told me that some of the places put in a certain thing that tint so that people don't buy it as like a common color. I don't know. I know Menards don't do it because they don't do anything that costs money.
so yeah, that's mostly what we do. Whatever color isn't too obnoxious.
I just go to Menards to see what somebody, see their returns. And buy the return paint.
Yeah, that's what we do.
We use interior paint on
Yeah.
ours and.
Go to, then.
I try to get that
Pharmacy,
exterior acrylic.
there's, Rural King.
Well,
Several places. I
Yeah,
usually buy it pretty darn cheap.
I have a couple boxes unpainted that got put on this year, because it was like, they need more room now, and there's no way or time to paint it. So.
Yeah.
Has
my
anybody
goal is to
talked
someday be prepared.
to John Hill lately? Is he still looking into wax dipping?
Oh, yeah, he's
Yeah,
got a wax.
he just got a
setup there.
semi load of stuff today, yesterday.
I don't think he's doing used equipment, but he'll do new equipment. I'm a big fan of it.
Does that have to be painted?
No. I don't think he wants to dip paint. You can dip paint,
No.
like Megan Milbrath, that's what she
I think
does.
he meant you have to paint it after it's dead.
No, it won't stick. Fortunately,
So he dips the whole hind body in wax.
kind of boil out the water out of it. Then it sucks it in when it comes out. So we did our winter hardware palooza at his place, and he was dipping some stuff, and it was pretty neat to watch.
Mm.
I did that one. He's got more courage than I do, because he does it inside.
With all his other wood laying
And
around.
it makes me nervous, because
Yeah.
if that goes, he's done. I've used stain before, I've used paint before. I think my one hard rule is I won't use oil-based.
Right.
No,
I won't use oil-based paint just because of paint, but also if you put a acrylic on top or whatever it is, latex on top
Yeah.
of those, peel it off.
You know.
So
but I don't care whether mine's interior or exterior, it doesn't stay, you know, I'm gonna paint them every couple of years anyway, so it don't matter.
I have used interior paint as well.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of really nice stuff from a union guy that was left over from some jobs, and that stuff was nuts. It was really nice. It was like a epoxy paint. And it was like what they use inside hospitals where they scrub it. Kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
That stuff was really, really nice. And it even sprayed really well. So I bought a sprayer. That was a game changer for me.
Mm.
This is the cheap Harbor Freight one when they have it on sale. Is really nice. It's under $200 and it'll just save you a ton of time, even if you just have 5-6 hives. It'll get you into places where you can't get with a brush or don't want to get with a brush or don't have time. Like it'll seal your end grains really good. You really, I'll just put some politics signs on top with a brick. And I'll just spray the whole stack, and I did 100 boxes in less than an hour.
Wow.
Wow, wow.
My method has been, we have this big metal bar. And you slide them all onto the metal bar and it hangs right about eye level. And then I just have a roller and I roll all those sides, go down there, flip them off. Roll the other ones, and flip it again, roll. So it's, yeah, I could do.
Well, yeah, but you've got so many highs, you've got 3, she's
Yeah.
got 1.
So one thing that's really nice about that too is if you follow that method, you'd be able to get your end grains.
Yeah.
So like you'd be able to get the tops and the bottoms of the boxes.
Mhm.
I think that's really important. Because if you don't get those, and I miss that when I spray. So when I did do it with a roller, I'd take the box off and I would just roll it between and then set the box down. And then I would break them apart when they dried, but getting that end grain is really important. 'Cause a lot of moisture seeps in there in a rocky box.
Well, at the top, and that top and bottom edge, if you're gonna get water, that's what's gonna come. Or that or the ingredients.
And the end grains where if you have box joints and stuff like that, it's definitely important to get those sealed up. I'll find that my end grains, I gotta spray like 4 times, where like the side of the box and 2 coats sound good. This year I did use primer last year I did use primer. It cost me a ton of money, but it really, the boxes, I noticed a big difference in quality.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a given. I always prime before I paint.
Because you're overachiever, Chris.
That just means I put an extra coat of paint on it.
Yeah, they get a couple coats.
Or I hope that somebody spent good money on stuff they retail.
One little secret we use when we're working our bezos, with it being this time of the year to share, is that the political signs. You know, regardless of the political party, recycle political
Election's
signs,
over.
because they have 101 uses when you're working with your beehive. So you stick
The
it.
plastic ones, not the flimsy ones.
Where do you get them from? Where do you get them from?
Yeah.
Let's
you
move
just-
out.
I was thinking of your opponent when you beat him. Do I?
I've probably got 10 in my yard and I've probably got 30 in the barn because
Yeah.
I have all kinds of them.
Yeah,
And I've been putting them out all over for other candidates.
Yep.
But yeah, when the election's over, I'm gonna keep all of them.
So you're saying I need to go just steal them out of my neighbor's yards is what you guys are saying?
Don't do that, because somebody stole all mine the other night and I had to put new ones back out.
Good, after the
No.
election.
Not until after the election is over.
After the election, it's not.
So like a lot of.
Like our bees are very.
Current politicians.
No, we are both.
Like them, and then I'll reuse them. for
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
But I usually just put a post on Facebook and I know you guys started doing it after I did it. That's it's a great way to get, you'd be surprised, pretty quick, you'll have 20, 30, 40 of them. It works great for dividing hives or when you got super stacked.
Really want to tell you, do like, well, I've got a backstop that is 2 sets of railroad ties.
Nice.
Works good too when you're harvesting honey.
So you're saying.
And if you take out a frame and you got it all cleared off and you're putting it in another box, then you put that political sign on top of it. And you don't get those
Huge.
tag ones.
And it will fill your gaps too.
Yeah,
If you put a heavy hive on top of that, it'll scrunch just enough to kind of seal.
yeah.
There's like a bazillion uses for them during the winter. You want your screen board.
Yeah, they can become your new screen board, 4x4, you can put as your backstops. A couple of T-posts to
Yeah.
pound them in the ground, and then you can go ahead and use zip ties to help hold them in place to help cut the wind.
Yeah, if you get the big ones, like they put on the side of the road, those are really good. They do get damaged in UV. So a lot of times in the spring they're shot, but you got no money in it. So
Yeah, I mean.
And then
it's
milk
price right.
jugs, you can cut down the milk jug so you still have a handle and makes a little bucket, and we use that for when we're scraping stuff off.
There you go, that's good. The other thing with the political signs, you can cut them to fit inside underneath your screen bottom boards for when you're doing only. So that it all doesn't go off the bottom screen. That works really well. As well, lots of uses. You
Yeah,
make sticky boards with them. So you can smear them with Vaseline or spray them with pan and put them underneath there to put your mic drops are.
There you
we use them in our chicken coop, we use them on. Like,
How do you start chicken food?
oh, what have we done? We made a little,
go. Nesting boxes
Yeah, the
outside for the
nesting
dividers.
I didn't like how they were sitting up there on top of the nesting boxes that we built. I just put a political sign, too sharp of an angle, and sit there, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I have a bunch of mine when I sleep in the nesting boxes, which.
Yeah.
That they still do.
Yeah, I let them, because I don't, I take them all out, put them
Yeah.
on greased every night. It's like I've got enough to do.
Well, hopefully this has been helpful.
And-
I've done a lot of tricks.
Tell them to save all of our political.
Yeah, so everyone uses.
Just post on Facebook and you'll get a bazillion of them. You'll be surprised how quickly you'll get them, or if you like, hear the, oh man, I'm telling.
No, just go to the party headquarters and they'll hand them out to you by the dozen.
Or
Sometimes.
check here after the fair when they have, because the fair signs they can't reuse from one year to the next.
That's why I was
Dated and stuff.
3 or 4 of them. They're the fair.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I usually get 1 or 2 of the fair signs and I put them up. And then after the fair, then I,
Then you get to keep them.
yep,
Recycling centers, a lot of fun to see them too. If you're willing to fish around in there. When I extract honey, I'll go to the recycling bins at Walmart. And I'll go pull out full panographs or Tribunes or New York Times, wherever I can find the full ones. And I put that down to catch my sticky. So then I'll just put a new one down when I spill. I keep putting down paper and it just keeps my mess more.
Good idea.
consolidated. It works. really well.
Then you can burn it and it just burns really easy.
You throw it right in your compost pile.
Yeah.
Depending how heavy you are.
Yeah. All right,
All right, well, with that, I think we're
we didn't get out too early, but.
good conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Chill.
Thank you.
All right, guys, good night.
Next meeting is
Good night.
it's in the same tonight,
night.
the same email that PK sent out,
4th Tuesday.
so it has, yeah.
so Val, do I put you
Put off the
on
ninth,
the ballot for next month?
Yes, yes, please.
All right.
What, next month?
I will be election. Yeah, really, not likely, but.
All right, good night. I'm gonna end the meeting.
Well, actually.